wife of deposed Bangkok MP Sira, campaigns for his job based on his 3 years of service to people. The man who brought about the downfall of Sira's career as an MP, former National Police Commissioner General Sereepisuth Temeeyaves, says that it may not have had to happen at all if he was less abrasive and more friendly towards colleagues and other officials during his tenure as an MP and chairman the House of Law, Justice and Human Rights Committee. The wife of deposed Bangkok MP and anti-corruption crusader Sira Jenjika is putting herself forward in the by-election to replace her husband on behalf of the ruling Palang Pracharath Party, due to be held on the 30th of January next. Sereepisuth Jenjika is campaigning on her husband's track record of service to the people of District 9 in Bangkok, and says the local people already miss his presence in the House of Representatives on their behalf. Mr. Sira was removed by the Constitutional Court on the 22nd of December after a petition was submitted by the leader of the Sereepisuth Party, Police General Sereepisuth Temeeyaves, pointing out that the former MP had been convicted of fraud in Pathum Thani in 1995. The wife of former MP Sira Jenjika, Sereepisuth Jenjika, was out campaigning in the 9th District of Bangkok on New Year's Day in Laksi, as she called for volunteers and support for her bid to win the parliamentary seat held since 2019 by her husband. Mr. Sira was a high-profile member of the House of Representatives, and made a name for himself as a crusader against corruption. He was removed as an MP, by a decision of the Constitutional Court, on the 22nd of December. The court found he was unsuitable as a candidate for election in 2019 due to a prior criminal conviction in Pathum Thani in 1995 under Section 98(10) of the 2017 Constitution. On New Year's Day, the wife of former MP Sira Jenjika, whose status as an MP was nullified by the Constitutional Court on the 22nd of December last, Mrs. Sereepisuth Jenjika, was busy in the Laksi area of Bangkok campaigning for her candidacy in the by-election to replace her husband due at the end of January. She was making no secret of her appeal to the local electorate on the matter. While monks gathered with local traders and supporters, Mrs. Sereepisuth told the media that she often, in the past, visited District 9 of Laksi Chatterjak to do merit and assist the monks or for constituency work on behalf of her husband, who has represented the area since being elected as an MP in the March 2019 general election up until the 22nd of December last. Sira's wife praises the people of District 9 in Bangkok as she explained her campaign on New Year's Day. "I have been talking to people for the past 3 years working here. They continue to fight shoulder to shoulder, no matter how difficult the situation is. Today, brothers and sisters in the area are complaining in unison that they miss MP Sira and want him to continue his duties. Because I have been here for almost 20 years, no one has been as sincere and takes care of the villagers without ever denying them. As a congressman named Sira, therefore, we are confident that he will definitely receive an opportunity from his brothers to continue working for them. Because choosing Sereepisuth is like getting the money back," said Mrs. Sereepisuth as she explained the ticket she is campaigning for. Mrs. Sereepisuth is running as a candidate for the ruling Palang Pracharath Party in the former constituency of her husband, but is offering the electorate the chance to see her husband, who made a name for himself in the House of Representatives as a campaigner against corruption as the high-profile chairman of the House of Law, Justice and Human Rights Committee, return to service, albeit on an ex officio basis. Sira was removed from office on the 22nd of December after the Constitutional Court accepted a petition on the 21st of January last alleging a prior conviction for fraud. Mr. Sira was removed from office by the Constitutional Court last month after it accepted and then reviewed a petition lodged on the 21st of January last by the leader of the Sereepisuth Party, Police General Sereepisuth Temeeyaves, Government MP and committee chairman, to have his status reviewed by the Constitutional Court. The 73-year-old party leader and former police officer brought the case under Section 98(10) of the 2017 Constitution, which means that a citizen may not stand as an MP if he or she has been convicted of a crime before a Thai court. This followed the revelation that Mr. Sira had been convicted of fraud before a court in Pathum Thani in 1995 and sentenced to 8 months imprisonment, which was halved to 4 months on the basis that he had entered a guilty plea. Mr. Sira subsequently argued that he had not spent time in prison concerning the matter, and did not consider that he had been punished or convicted before the court. The court handed down its decision on the 22nd of December but had, before this, declined to order the politician's suspension as a constituency MP. made a name for himself as a fiery and fierce anti-corruption campaigner and committee chairman. After his election as an MP in 2019 for the ruling Palang Pracharat Party, Sira Jenjaka went on to become chairman of the House of Law, Justice and Human Rights Committee, and emerged as a fierce and fiery critic of government officialdom at all levels in relation to corruption. That year, he caused some controversy when he travelled to Phuket to inspect an illegally constructed resort on the island. During the trip, the MP became embroiled in a standoff with a local senior police officer. Bangkok MP on Phuket mission to investigate controversial local condo project before the courts. At one point during a hot-tempered exchange when the police officer questioned his behaviour, Mr. Sira replied, "This is my character. I don't care. I am working for the benefit of the country." Led the charge as the public outcry grew louder in 2020 over the Red Bull Air investigation fiasco and scandal following the 2012 death of a policeman in 2020. The crusading MP took a leading role in channeling public outrage over the Red Bull Air fiasco, and did not mince words with witnesses called on behalf of the Royal Thai Police as he demanded accountability in a scandal that continues to raise disturbing questions in the public mind. Exclusive report on the Red Bull scandal exposing corruption, due at the Prime Minister's office. In August 2020, a former Anti-Corruption Commission chairman and campaigner, Victor Manhakan, delivered a report to the Prime Minister's office on the affair which confirmed both the certainty that corruption was involved in the botched prosecution of Red Bull Sion Voraith Vidhaya or boss in 2012 and the scale of what went wrong. Mr. Voraith was involved in a hit-and-run incident in 2012 in which an on-duty policeman was killed in the Sukhumvit area of Bangkok. Threatened to call cabinet ministers before his committee in April this year as the Delta virus outbreak was linked to Thong Law nightlife venues. In April this year, Mr. Sira was again front and center in exposing the origin of the Delta variant of COVID-19, the most lethal outbreak to date, which is thought to have emerged from a supercluster linked with high-end nightlife venues in the Thong Law area of Bangkok, which was also linked to a number of cabinet ministers. Bangkok MP were called to account cabinet ministers, who he claims were at a Thong Law nightlife spot. The MP threatened to bring ministers before his committee if necessary to clarify their roles. On the case of the Ferrari Joe outrage in August, Mr. Sira showed his capacity to detect the pulse of the people again this August when he travelled to Nakhon Sawan province to speak to the father of the victim in the Ferrari Joe outrage, when a high-flying police colonel appeared to have murdered a drug suspect in custody. Colonel Thitazanut Thanafan or Ferrari Joe, the station chief at Nakhon Sawan, appeared on a video clip using several plastic bags to suffocate 24-year-old Jirapong Thanapat, who was arrested earlier on the 5th of August 2021 in relation to drug offences. Fears grow that Ferrari Joe will evade justice as local monk offers him support as a peacekeeper. Mr. Sira met the troubled father of the victim, Mr. Navin Thanapat, who had earlier been persuaded by the senior policeman to support his version of events before the video became public, and he knew he was being lied to. At the time, Mr. Sira used the occasion to criticise his own government's Police Reform Act, moving at a snail's pace through Parliament, which he described as not comprehensive enough, particularly to prevent the abuse of suspects such as that seen in Nakhon Sawan. Former police chief and leader of the Thai Liberal Party, another anti-corruption activist, ultimately blamed Mr. Sira's abrasive style for his downfall. After the Constitutional Court verdict on the 22nd of December last, the man responsible for the downfall of Mr. Sira's parliamentary career, Police General Sereepisuth Temeeyaves, at the end of a statement calling for the criminal prosecution of the Bangkok-based Palang Pracharat Party former member of the House of Representatives, admitted it would not have come about but for Mr. Sira's abrasive style, particularly the former House Chairman's attitude towards the Royal Thai Police. The Sereepisuth Thai Party or Thai Liberal Party returned 10 MPs to the House of Representatives in 2019. Police General Sereepisuth is a former National Police Commissioner, serving from February 2007 until April 2008. He was appointed by the Council for National Security, the military junta which seized power in September 2006 as part of its efforts to reform the Royal Thai Police. He replaced Police General Kawad Watana, who was appointed by ex-Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra in 2004. Accuser known also for his campaign against former Minister Thamanat Promphao over drug trafficking, Police General Sereepisuth, A highly respected figure, is also known for his trenchant pursuit and criticism of Palang Pracharat Party Secretary General Thamanat Promptlau, formerly Deputy Minister of Agriculture, who was cleared by the Constitutional Court in similar circumstances this year despite having served a prison sentence in Australia for drug trafficking. Thamanat gets the all clear from the Constitutional Court in relation to Australian drug allegations. Police General Sereepisuth described Mr. Sira in the House of Representatives as swarming all over the place and failing to cooperate with other members. He also took issue with the Palang Pracharat Party MP's treatment of former senior police officers. MP's removal would not have happened if he was more friendly, admitted Police General Sereepisuth in December after the court's decision was handed down. It's not difficult for me to find information about Mr. Sira. Only if, you know yourself, he was friendly with this guy or friendly to the police. Friendly to me, then this probably would not have happened, the Sereepisuth Thai party leader told reporters after the court's clear decision in December. Police General Sereepisuth has now called on Thailand's powerful election commission to initiate a case against the former MP for making a false declaration when he submitted his candidacy in 2019 under the kingdom's strict electoral laws, which could see Mr. Sira jailed for up to 10 years and suspended from politics for a further 20 years. Calls for payments and expenses to be recovered. In addition, the former police chief is insisting that all monies, including salaries and expenses paid, should be recovered from the former MP, who should never have been elected in the first place. The by-election for the seat is due to take place on the 30th of January next, with many parties in the running to take Mr. Jenjaka's place in the House. Under the law, the election had to be held by the 4th of February at the latest. People must decide, says Mrs. Saranrat in Bangkok's 9th district on New Year's Day. Mrs. Saranrat acknowledged the right of the people of Don Muang and Laxi to choose their MP, but she expressed hope that the people will remember the sincere and strenuous efforts of her husband to represent them over the last 3 years. She said she was urging volunteers to come out and help her campaign on behalf of the people, and said her decision to run for election was only because people in the district had asked her to do it.